Tackle today, the Justice Brothers from Tackle Trading, bringing you all the charts, news, and analysis so you can be informed in just a few minutes. Bulls are in charge. The technical situation heading into this week that Matt talked about in the newsletter really has played out. And if you want to read a chart like a Matt, if you want to be a trader, if you want to be a market assassin, Matt is teaching a fantastic webinar coming up, Precision Trading. Absolutely register for it. It is a must attend event. It is the type of knowledge that will get you to trade like a pro. Register for the event. Link is in the description below. Matt, that technical situation, Bulls are very, very in charge across basically every area of the market in the stock market. Break down the charts for us.
Yeah, we talked about this in the Trading Justice podcast in general, gave a detailed assessment of it in the Tackle Trading newsletter for the pros this week. But, once that bullish retracement was confirmed, even in the podcast this previous weekend, definitely check it out if you haven't. I said brace for the breakout because there was a magnet up there at that resistance level. When bullish retracements get confirmed, the probability shifts very, very aggressively to having the price action go up and test that resistance level. And then you're looking at the breakout. And the breakout is when you break out of the previous level of resistance, which basically that's what the market did last weekend is bullish retracements, is it recovered that price. And then in the momentum areas of the market, which are currently IWM and the diamonds, basically with that cyclical type move we're seeing in the market following Thursday's price action from last week, they recovered that breakout. And now with today's price action, they're actually breaking out. As you can see on RSP, you can look at it on the IWM. You're looking at the breakout on the diamonds itself. You're looking at the breakout. And that's the thing about these Mountain Dew markets, Mark, is once that momentum sets in, it's not like it's going to carry for the next 2 months. Like the momentum has a tendency to be fairly quick in and fairly quick out. And so when you're looking at the momentum condition, it started last Thursday in the diamonds, RSP, IWM, those cyclical areas of the market. It continues here today as now we're talking about potential breakouts in the SPY, potential breakouts in the Qs, specifically technology, but specifically where the momentum is and where it currently resides is in those cyclical areas of the market, and they still look like they're firing off on all cylinders.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we're going to continue to break down the charts in the Traders Lounge today. Look for those opportunities. We detailed that cyclical move and maybe what comes next in the Trading Justice podcast. Be sure to check that out for a detailed analysis there. Matt, not a lot of economic news today. Big day on Wednesday coming up this week where we get a huge data dump ahead of Thanksgiving. We'll highlight that on the Wednesday tackle today. But what individual, you take a look at it right now. It's lots of stuff going on. We'll detail it more there, but nothing today. Matt, what stocks in the news do you have for us today?
Yeah, it's not a lot of economic news to start off the week. A little bit of geopolitical news, obviously, with Israel and Hezbollah coming in with a ceasefire agreement. That's very positive to see. But we'll take a look at kind of how that's impacting the markets when we look at the commodities here in just 1 second. A couple stocks in the news here today on a Monday, as it's an upgrade downgrade type day. And I got three stocks that got a little bit of the upgrading love from Wall Street here today. Let's first start with ARM Holdings, who got an upgrade here today from USB. Well, it wasn't necessarily an upgrade. It was an initiating coverage, but I typically do see that as an upgrade because they came in with a buy rating citing potential upside, specifically on AI artificial demand. Remember, everybody after NVIDIA was like, oh, they're terrible earnings report. Now you're seeing secondary upgrades in semiconductors coming from Wall Street, talking about that AI demand, because quite frankly, NVIDIA's earnings report was very good, and ARM's getting a little bit of secondary love following that. Interesting enough, NVIDIA is currently down on the day, still has not broken out, despite the fact the market has broken out. NVIDIA hasn't really been playing a role after that earnings report from last week. Let's talk a little bit about Target, as they had one of the worst earnings reports in the quarter. But there's a couple companies out there. Oppenheimer, to be specific, is restating Target as a top pick, highlighting improved reward to risk ratio profile and an attractive dividend. That is fascinating to me that after that earnings report last week, Oppenheimer's like, no, we're going to reiterate our buy rating at 165. I just take the L, Oppenheimer. That's my recommendation here. Take the L. Target's earnings report was absolutely atrocious. The only thing that keeps, as I say that is in the back of my mind is Oppenheimer thinking about a recent Starbucks earnings report that was equally atrocious, but never went underneath that level. There's a couple other stocks out there that had just ripped the band-aid off terrible earnings reports, not last quarter or the quarter before, and really didn't see any further downward pressure in price. Is Oppenheimer looking at Target as a, hey, this was they wanted to cook all the bad things into one report? Maybe, but I'm going to go ahead and disagree with that, because the simple reality is when you look at the Starbucks report, when you look at some of the other reports that had a similar type vibe, high, quality stocks that just had a absolutely terrible earnings report, Target was a little bit different. They were, putting debt into their reports. They were doing other things into the reports. They were trying to put all the bad stuff into their reports, i.e. Starbucks. That's not what Target did last week. They had a miss, and a lowering of guidance where they blamed the consumer on it. And so I just kind of feel like Oppenheimer's playing a little bit of games there on Wall Street here today. MicroStrategy is also in the news here today as they get an upgrade from a price target perspective at Bernstein, who says, you know what? We see the momentum in Bitcoin. We see the momentum in crypto. We see the deregulation story in crypto. And you know what? We don't like our price target at 290 any longer. Now, mind you, the current price of MicroStrategy is 423. They had a price target on MicroStrategy at 290. And so what they're doing is upgrading to reflect the current momentum of crypto in general. They raised their price target up to 600 from the 290 target that they had going into today's 423 print.
Yeah, listen, interesting stuff. These markets are absolutely fascinating. They're fast moving, lots of opportunities. Matt, you talked about that geopolitical, de-escalation, right? De-escalation. We're seeing dollar down, right? We're seeing traditional, oil down, gold down, dollar down. Some of the areas more violent than the others. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing here is a little bit of an alleviation event from a geopolitical situation, as Israel and Hezbollah have a ceasefire agreement coming over the weekend, coming into today's pricing. And so you're seeing, obviously something ever since that, really kind of the last week or so, gold and the dollar have been running 1-to-1, basically. Gold up, dollar down, gold down. It's been a very interesting situation that has occurred, given the fact that they are very divergent historically, but have not been divergent in the last week. And that's in my estimation, because in a scenario where you have a geopolitical situation where it gets a lot of eyes, what in the very short term, not long term, but in the very short term, both of these two asset classes, the dollar and gold specifically, are geopolitical safe havens. And so when a geopolitical event happens where you have an alleviation of that to a certain extent, right? We're talking about Hezbollah and the Lebanese situation with Israel, and the ceasefire agreement that was signed or agreed to earlier today. And so does that have the ability to continue to move in that direction after the event? I don't know about that, Mark. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens on the dollar and gold here. Both are very choppy here today. Gold is kind of all over the place just from a technical perspective. Definitely needs to get dialed in. There is no doubt about that. Now, what I will say on the gold side of the equation is I keep coming back down to GDX. And whereas gold is having a little bit of volatility moment here, obviously GDX is as well, but a 3% move in GDX is another day that ends in Y, quite frankly, recently. And I really kind of like the overall development. I still think development is needed, but you are starting to see the deeper retracement set in gold stocks. You're starting to see the pullback that will most likely see an increase in support. And so it's on the radar for potential reversal type situations here. But again, it's got a little bit of work to do. We'll be dialing those technical patterns in gold all week long. Well, not all week long, because we do have Thanksgiving this week. Happy Thanksgiving week to everybody. But in the Traders Lounge Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we'll be dialing these in.
Yeah, Bitcoin pulling back a little bit. Matt, a lot of traders, have eyes on Bitcoin at all times, right? You get a little bit of stretched, a little bit of pullback. If we get order and control here on a pullback, it's going to be very, very interesting. What would be a favorable technical situation here?
Just assume this would be a stock, and a stock kissing up against $100 in a momentum condition. You would obviously call for a momentum pattern, and paint me shocked and surprised, and just that we're seeing a downward movement in price once 100K got hit on last Friday. And so I just think you're seeing some profit taking here more than anything. It's had an amazing run, an absolute amazing run, and it makes a lot of sense for some secondary development to set in, especially right there at that 100K mark. I don't think you're, obviously it's been very sensitive to volatility, so I don't think you're going to see a lot of tremendous slowing momentum here. But at the end of the day, you would love to see a little bit of a high base kind of dial in that 100K, or any secondary pattern that dials in 100K here would suffice.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we got a lot to talk about in the Traders Lounge today. But be sure to sign up for that precision trading event. It is going to be a massive event. We're bringing the whole gang. We're bringing the party. It is going to be popping. Come sign up right now. Do it.